Hello.
Hello, Mr. Peng.
Hello.
So let
Hey,
me.
I was in the link for like 20 minutes, guys.
Oh, sorry.
I'm so sorry.
We thought it's 2:30.
Okay, yeah, it's a miscalculation.
Let me
all right.
do a quick first self-introduction first. My name is Xie Zeling, and I'm now a student from Curtin University, Singapore. So these are my teammate.
My name is Zhang Shenyuan.
My name is Zhou Ziyi.
Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah.
Nice to
So
meet you.
welcome, Mr. Peng, as a well-known entrepreneur. We are very grateful that you have taken the time today to help us with this project and agreed to be interviewed. We really appreciate your kindness and support. Today, we have prepared 12 questions regarding your entrepreneurial experience.
Yeah.
So first, I'd like to ask.
Is this being recorded and published anywhere, or is this just strictly for
only for
project?
schoolwork, only for school teacher. Yeah. So first, I'd like to ask you a few questions about your background before you start your business. So first, did you do any entrepreneurial things when you were younger?
I mean, young is a relative term. I'm 32 years old now, turning 33. I started my entrepreneurial journey around 2011, 12. So that's when I first got into university, and I started a tutoring school where I was tutoring math, physics, SAT. I was always like a pretty good student. I was pretty smart, so I thought that was like a pretty good way as I was navigating through my computer engineering degree. Thank you. And so yeah, I started tutoring kids around the area that I was living at, around the private school in Vancouver. And I also had a bunch of friends in engineering that I was helping out. So we decided to pretty much like start a tutoring school, and then I was helping them get clients through my network. You know, it wasn't really like digital marketing back then. It was like 2011, but it was. We started doing some ads, and then I was able to find. Basically utilize the students that I was tutoring and then their parents to get everyone else clients as well, and took like 20% of the revenue. So I would say that was like my first entrepreneurial experience. And after that, I created a couple SaaS companies. So like built apps. This is really early on in like 2014, 15, around that era. And had one of them get acquired by a company for around $3 million. So that was probably my first big break and first exit in 2017. And but I've had many projects in like before that and after that that have failed. And yeah, I went through a lot of trials and tribulations. So yeah, I mean, I would say I started young, but that's a relative term because I think you guys are all around the age of when I started. So I wouldn't say I was doing too many entrepreneurial things before I got into university. I was always just focusing on sports, music, studying, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Mr. Pang. So what kind of work experience did you have before you starting the business?
The first job that I've gotten when I was a kid was this company called Vector Marketing. It's I think it's a bit of a pyramid scheme. At the time, I didn't understand, but it was kind of like a door-to-door sales job for a cutlery company called Cutco. So it's like they sold very high-end knives for the kitchen. So it's like we had to reach into our network and network of like wealthy buyers, and then we had to go and do demos with our friends and family kind of thing. So that was kind of like my first experience, and then I realized it was kind of like super intrusive to the people around me, the network. I was like 15 or 16 at the time, and then after that, I remember it was the summer of maybe 2011 or 10. I think 16 or 17 at the time. I started working as a busboy at a restaurant. So that was kind of like my first real working experience, I would say. So I was just bussing tables, and but I was able to understand the concept of having a business because before that I just thought going to a restaurant, like what makes that restaurant successful is just like if the food is good. But being a busboy, I was able to see kind of like um, how the engine is made by like so many different gears, where like your experience at the restaurant is way more than having good food, but it's also the person that brings you the water, brings you the bread, the one that cleans the tables, um, the person that says hi to you and how's your day. So that whole experience kind of showed me that in order to create a successful business, everyone has to work in unison and yeah. So I kind of learned quite a bit from that job, and also learned how to deal with different customers, different coworkers at a very young age. Yeah, so I would say that would be one experience that I remember the most from the early days before I started my entrepreneurial journey.
Okay, thank you. So when did you have an idea of becoming an entrepreneur?
Idea of becoming an entrepreneur. Well, it kind of just happened naturally. I've always wanted to build something that's disruptive growing up because both my parents are tech entrepreneurs. So I've seen what they were able to do with technology. So I've always wanted to just build something that would solve problems and push an industry forward. So I mean, from a very young age, I would say I knew I was going to be an entrepreneur.
Okay, thank you, sir. So this is the first part of our question. Thank you so much for sharing your background and early journey with us. Now I will pass the interview over my group member.
Um, Hi, Mr. Pan. What was your primary motivation for starting a business?
So now that I've had so many companies under my portfolio, my only focus is to solve problems. And I know that's different for everybody, but I'm not motivated by money anymore because I think I have enough money to spend um, comfortably for the rest of my life. And I think I've had most materialistic possessions that I've always thrived, or I never really got motivated by materialistic things anyway, even though I do enjoy expensive things like cars and collectibles. So my only motivation in entrepreneurship and building businesses is solving problems in the industries that I'm passionate about. Right now, it's a collectibles technology, so I'm just passionate about solving real world pain points in the world of collectibles through technology. So that's my only motivation. And if the pain point is actually solved, do a good job solving the problem, the money will come. And the more money that I get from solving these problems, the more resources I can have to solve even bigger problems. And that's kind of like that is kind of like my mentality and what motivates me.
Okay. What were your goal at the time you started the venture? A big goal or a small goal?
Uh, what what goals I had when I started the venture, like currently or before?
Um, Before.
Okay, so we can talk about tag grading, a company that I'm a big part of. So tag grading is a machine grading computer grading company. So it grades collectibles, trading cards with advanced computer imaging. And when I joined the company back in a few years back, the company was very early on and only did and so I joined as one of the major investors and board of directors of the company. I wanted to make sure that we stay on the right path in innovation, but also push it to the trading card audience where people that collected like Pokemon cards and Yu-Gi-Oh cards and Magic the Gathering, like people in the trading card world can adopt this new technology so we can bring more consistency and transparency in the world of card grading. So that was kind of like my mission is to kind of like solve the pain point of the manual grading companies not being able to um, consistently identify the same defects and produce the same grades because it's graded by people, and I wanted to standardize um, computer grading because computer grading can bring more consistency, accuracy, and transparency um, to card grading. So that was kind of like my goal motivation, and so far we've had a very meteoric rise over the last 2 years. So when I invested in the company is worth around 30 million, and now we're pushing 250 million USD in valuation for the company. So I would say that's already reflected on how the market has seen the company, and I'll also like how investors and funds value our company. So I've been on both sides. I've been a founder. I've been an angel investor, like an investor that built companies, and now I'm back in being a founder again, building a new collectibles technology platform. So I've been on all sides of both sides of being a founder and an investor.
Okay. Thank you. What was your risk orientation when you start?
Risk orientation.
Yeah.
Uh, well, I've always had a really high risk tolerance. So I've I've always been the type um that would go all in on every project that I'm in.
Oh,
So definitely not something that I recommend most young entrepreneurs. I've always had the mentality that, you know, I want to create the best, and I'm gonna swing for the fences, hit the home run, and worst case scenario, if I don't end up succeeding, I just start over, do something else. So that's always what I've done, and I've had some spectacular failures, and I've had some great success, and it's something that I think I will continue to do in my life. It's what excites me to challenge myself to be the best version of myself in creating the absolute best product or event or anything that I'm in. So that's kind of like how I got to the point where I am today. That's why so many investors believe in
mm,
me, and that's kind of like the type of persona that they invest in, is they want to see a guy that's willing to put it all on the line. But um, I would say it's not something I recommend to like everybody, because I was very fortunate in the fact that I had enough success early on that I'm not worried about ending
oh,
up on the street. So um, to me, if something doesn't work out, I can always start something else. And I understand it's different for a lot of people with families
yeah,
and that don't have as much risk tolerance as me. But that's just who I am. That's my entrepreneurial profile. That's what I'm known for. And every time I create something, people see my DNA being part of it, swinging for the fences. But yeah, like I said, I've also had some spectacular failures that are very public as well. So it's kind of like what I'm known for.
Last question for me. How long was a typical work day and work week when you first started your venture?
When I first started, I would say I've always had really good work ethic and discipline. So my day
Mm,
usually starts around 6:30 a.m. That's when I wake up, and I would check my email, respond to people, and especially people in different time zones. Because I am in North America, and we do work with investors in Singapore, Hong Kong, and China. So we would definitely. I have a lot of stuff that I have to take care of early in the morning. That's when I wake up, and I usually work out before I come into the office at around 9. So I would spend like half an hour
yeah,
to an hour, whether it's boxing Monday, Thursday, or I work out on Tuesday, Wednesday, and I play basketball on Friday. I incorporate a lot of physical activity and sports into my daily routine. And I would be at the office from 9 to usually around 6 to 7. And I would go home, and on the days that are a little bit easier, I would try and spend time with my wife and have dinner. And oftentimes I sleep at 9 p.m. Or we have um, a lot of uh, there's sometimes we have projects we have to take care of. Like last week, I was working on not just my own company, but also Tag Grading, the company that I'm a board member of, because we had a lot of deadlines that we were trying to hit. I was working until like 1 a.m. every day. So it just, every day is the same from 6:30 to like around 7.
yeah.
And then if I can, I try and balance family life after, but I would say half the time I have to take care of more things, and yeah, and work a bit later.
Okay, okay,
I don't
fine.
take vacations. I don't have weekends.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Next part is my team member Ziyi.
Hello, Mr. Pan. I want to know, did your risk orientation change as venture grew?
Nope, it's the same. It's it just higher and higher stakes. You know, at first I might be just risking a small project with a few people. Um, you know, now across companies I have hundreds of employees, so I'm not risking their livelihood, but I'm risking kind of like going all in on every project because I want to. We want to hit the home run every time, and that's kind of like what challenges me and keeps me going and keeps me motivated. So I don't think my risk tolerance or orientation has really changed. Now I have a family. Well, I don't have kids yet, but when I do have kids, that might change a little bit because um, my focus will probably shift um, from being mostly career oriented to more family oriented. So maybe I'll think about more wealth preservation. But now we have everything that we need. Um, so yeah, it's not for everyone, but that's just how I operate. Yeah.
Okay. What key mistakes did you make along the way?
Yeah, the key mistakes is all tied into um, how much I'm willing to take risks. I had very public failure in 22, late 22, when we had a. So I used to be in real estate. I still am in real estate. But I used to be the CEO of one of the leading real estate digital marketing companies in the world. So we did a collaboration with Huron in Canada, and we had a Canadian Real Estate Awards. I was actually I was part of their Huron U30 award. So they actually reached out to me to take that award, and they asked if we want to host the Canadian Real Estate Awards here in Canada in 2022. So we had a very successful event. We ran something that was kind of like seen as the Oscars of real estate in Canada, and then they wanted us to take on the U.S. event as well. And the U.S. Event, I put in like around $500,000 of my own money, and it was around the time when the real estate market was like really going through a downturn, and the partners that we were working with was not completely upfront and honest about what they were able to provide as well. So I kind of like bit off more than we could chew, and we were announcing we were doing it. We pretty much went all in, but we ended up having to cut that project because of resources and the real estate market not being there. And so that's when I really learned to make it's not the risk tolerance part, but it was because I had winner's tilt. So that's kind of like a poker term where I had a very successful event in Canada. So my judgment was kind of clouded by the fact that I was disproportionately confident in my abilities, and kind of like misjudged the situation completely with the real estate market where it was going. Um, Whether or not our partners were the right partners to do it with. So it wasn't so much that I was like taking too big of a risk. It was the fact that I wasn't my awareness and my judgment was off because I had such a successful event. Um, prior to that. So what I learned from that situation is never be too up or down, depending on wins and losses, and keep more of a level head as an executive and CEO of a company. So that's kind of like that. That's what I learned from that experience for sure. It was to not be tilted whether you won or lost. A lot of people get tilted when they're losing, but I was definitely tilted when I was winning as well. So that's what I learned.
So what were some of the key lessons learned?
Yeah, I kind of just touched on that, but yeah, it's just to keep a level head and not be affected by what happened previously, and just kind of like look at every situation and judge every situation based on just not be affected by previous experiences as much, and do your due diligence before jumping all in. Yeah.
So what was your greatest moment and your worst moment?
Greatest moment. I had a lot of great moments in my career. I would say it's we hosted a TCG Hall of Fame ceremony here in Vancouver a few months ago. So we pretty much ran the Oscars of the TCG world, and we had a lot of celebrities, the biggest collectors in the world, and the biggest influencers in this space here as well. And we were able to celebrate the legacies of the greatest collectors in the TCG world, and also put together $100 million museum, which is the highest value TCG display in the history of the world. And that was something I was really proud of, because I was able to honor the people that paved the path. I would probably say that's probably our greatest moment in terms of the other side was the biggest failure.
Yeah, worst moment.
The worst moment I would say is, not going to mention exactly which company, but there was a company that I co-founded previously. Um, I started it with a couple of my close friends, and I was the one that funded the company. I was the CEO, and I basically treated my partners as family. That includes starting it from the basement of my house, and providing them with cars. The company cars came from me. Um, Getting into the first office, building the team from my basement to 40 employees. And it became one of the very well known, very successful companies in that space. And the moment we started making money, and there's a couple decisions that I regret making. I would say like the moment things started going south, I felt like my partners threw me under the bus, and that's what really hurt me, because every time we won, I would take my partners with me and give everyone credit. But the moment things didn't go as well, I felt like I was being blamed for everything. So the I would say the worst moment is feeling betrayed by um, partners and friends that I treated as family, and that really that was the biggest challenge in entrepreneurship is always dealing with the people. You know, sometimes it would be your partner, sometimes your employee, sometimes it's your boss, sometimes your mentor. Most of the time, it's the people that you consider your friends that hurt you the most. It's almost never the enemy because you expect them to do whatever it takes to beat you in your competition, right? So my worst moment I would say is with that project. I felt like I was not uh my kindness was being taken advantage of, and yeah, so yeah, that's probably my worst moment.
Okay. Were there some critical points in the development of the venture, when the venture almost failed, or when you found yourself at a critical crossroads in terms of some vital decision or issue that had to be addressed in a certain way, or the venture would have failed?
Oh, you're saying like there's like a critical decision that could determine the survival of a venture that I'm in, right? That's a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're kind of like faced with that type of decision every day. Um, what would be a good example to tell you guys? So we're kind of going through that with tag grading. Um, so the situation is it's always a challenge for a company to not have enough business at the beginning, but it's almost a bigger challenge when you have more business than you can handle. Because being drowned by too much business is actually what kills a lot of the companies in the growth phase. And so what we do is we grade trading cards with advanced computer imaging system. And before we hit full technological scalability, which means we're actually building remote grading pods where we can put it in every card shop or every shopping mall where people can go and grade their cards and get it back in person. So that's what we're building towards. But before we get to that point, when people send it in to us, we have a very hard cap in our capacity to grade the number of cards per month. And we've hit that cap multiple times. Well, we've hit that cap and gone over. So we're getting twice the amount of business that we can handle every month. So if we don't stop, basically the submissions of the cards that's coming in will drown us to the point where we can't return it back to the customer's hands within any reasonable amount of time. So before we can scale our technology and move to a bigger space and get more machines and more employees, we were faced with the decision where do we keep taking in these submissions and basically getting the revenue brought in every month, and then just say like let the customers wait. We'll figure it out. As long as people are giving us money, we'll take all the money. Our revenue monthly revenue went from around 500,000 USD a month last year around this time to around a million USD a month in December, and then in January it was 1.3, February was 1.5, March was 2.1, and April was 2.8 million USD. So it's growing, like it's doubling every 2 months or so. The demand was outpacing what we were able to produce every month. And from the outside looking in, it's great. Like people are seeing the company really grow. We have a run rate of over 30 to 40 million USD a year, just from that revenue source. But we made the difficult decision to shut down submissions or taking in more business until we caught up, because we don't want to drown um, by the market, and maintain our quality of service is more important to us than taking in more money. So yeah, we recently announced that we would stop taking in submissions at the basic and standard levels, which is like 90% of our business. We shut the tiers down, and we're just basically we are purposely bringing our revenue down from almost 3 million USD a month to around one. So we're turning down 70% of the business on purpose, in order to grow at our own pace and survive, not get drowned. So I would say that is the most critical decision that we were forced to make. But I do believe sacrificing revenue in the short term is what we needed to do to succeed in the long term.
Okay, thank you for your sharing.
Okay, let's move on to the last part. Your thoughts on today and the advice you can share with the student like us. What would you do differently if you had all to do over again?
That's a like a 2-3 part question. I would say every time I speak to students or young entrepreneurs, I always tell them the most important thing about entrepreneurship is find an industry that you're truly passionate about. Find a problem that you're truly passionate about solving. Don't just go with what you think can make money, because there's so many different ways to make money. It's more important to create value and find problems that you're passionate about solving, because entrepreneurship is hard, and building a company is hard. Managing a team is very hard, and an average entrepreneur thinks about quitting like 7 times a month or something like that. And if you're not truly passionate about the problem you're solving, you're gonna give up. And that's truly the hardest part. Most people give up before they get to the finish line. So find something that you're truly passionate about doing and solve that problem, and money will come. In terms of, what was the other question? What would I?
What would you do differently if you had all to do over again?
I personally wouldn't do anything differently, because if I didn't make the mistakes and failed in my professional career, I wouldn't have learned so many lessons. So I was very blessed and fortunate enough to be able to withstand a lot of public failures in my career, and learn from them and still be left standing. I'm pretty resilient. I have a lot of persistence. And I would say the only thing I would do differently is maybe if I could tell myself from like 15 years ago, I would tell them to be more, not like less trusting of people, but um, think about yourself a little bit more, because I'm the type of person that kind of put everyone else's interest before my own, and that's how you really get taken advantage of. Sometimes you need to be a little bit more ruthless as a leader of a company. I know it sounds crazy, but if you hear the stories of Elon Musk or Steve Jobs and all those guys, they kind of like have a goal in mind and think about the big picture. And I would say not to that extreme, but have to be more careful with the people you trust. Just because someone that you've known since you were a kid or a long time doesn't mean that person um, is someone that you can trust with everything. So be a little bit more careful with the people that you've known for a long time. It's that person might be completely different from what you think he is. So I would say just be more careful with people. But in terms of decision making and going through everything, like I wouldn't. I feel like my greatest assets are the failures and the mistakes that I made along the way, and I'm able to become the person I am today, the executive, the investor, the entrepreneur that I am today because I made those mistakes early on, and I lost early to win late.
So, what are your plans for the future of the venture?
My plans, well, I'm just continuing building, and my current company, we're building the infrastructure of collectible ownership. So basically, we're building Carfax for collectibles, and we want to disrupt and change the way people buy, sell, and collect and transact in the collectible space. So solving that problem, solving the problem of transparent and consistent grading of all collectibles across the industry. Yeah, I'm just passionate about pushing the industry forward with innovation and technology, and I'm going to continue to do that for the foreseeable future.
Thank you, sir. So that's all of our interview question. Thank you so much for taking time to share your experience and advice with us today.
Right.
We really appreciate your help and wish you all the best.
All right, appreciate it.
Okay,
Yeah.
have a
Wish you
good
guys
day,
all
sir.
good luck. Bye.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you
Bye-bye,
so
sir.
much.
我去
他。好快啊！
下了。